Just like that, our 10 days are over, boys. Woo. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee, Andrew Dutch Holland, and Jen Rolnick here for the next 2 hours. Welcome in to our first 2024 Leaf Edition hour.
Let's talk about, by the way, shocked there's no Brandeo here. Derek has 4 children. I would be crawling out of my home to get to work no matter the circumstances after 10 days off.
He texted me this morning, and I believe it's one of his kids' 13th birthday today. Haley's 13th birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
Teen, so he's
there you
a
go.
good father. Yeah, after 10 days off.
I gotta go.
My gift is see you later.
Wherever you're watching or following, Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6, we're glad you are along for the ride, and we are glad to be back on air. Good 10 days.
Yeah.
Nobody got hurt. Everybody's happy.
Really good. We pinnacle for us. We went to Long Island and skated at the Clark Gillies Arena in Dix Hills, and all 8 of his grandkids got out there and wore sweaters. The boys had a little shinny game. Our wives took pictures.
Are you still really good at hockey?
What's that?
Are you still really good at hockey?
No.
Oh, okay.
that has diminished significantly.
Did you get some ice time in?
Me? No. I did not skate. Went to the attack game.
Oh, okay.
Out on Sound. Yeah. Went on local access television with my boy Mark McKelvey.
Did you?
I did.
Nice.
I did. Did a little interview in the intermission. Yeah.
Broadcasting chop sharp.
I did. That was my working over there. I did 5 minutes with Mark. But
Nice.
yeah.
And what about you? What'd you get up to?
Little Prince Edward County.
Ooh.
My sister's got a house on the water. Got all the families together.
Nice.
A lot of mayhem.
And once you're there,
Lots
you don't
of
have to go
sugar.
anywhere. You're just there. Right?
Yeah, it was really nice.
That's awesome.
Really nice.
Can't believe we're back. Quite honestly, like I'm sitting here
I've
and
been
I'm like,
ready to, though. Like,
Yeah?
the Leafs been doing stuff.
yeah, I guess.
We also had an interesting show during the
We
break.
sure did.
We Justin and I, along with David Amber and Elliot Friedman, did the Columbus Leaf regional game, which turned into quite the event, and the domino effect of that game has led us to probably our number one story, and for many Leaf fans, the number one story is Ilya Samsonov.
Yeah.
Waived by the Toronto Maple Leafs over the break and is now, I guess, down with the Marlies. But is he really down with the Marlies? Sammy, what do we know about that?
We might as well just let the Clippers. I'm not going to throw to the first one of 2024 here, but the first clip from Brad Treliving, who spoke. So I think that tells you a lot of what they think of this situation.
Yeah.
That the general manager held a impromptu press conference. Yeah. And he spoke about it. He gave an update about what's going on with him. So if we want to play the first Treliving clip there, Dutchie.
Of 2024.
Here we go.
Obviously, we know Ilya's gone through a difficult time. And so when you go through this, you kind of look at a couple of options, right? You either keep doing what you're doing, which is an option, and try to work through it, or you do something different. And this plan that we looked at it, and I felt strongly that we had to do something different to help Ilya. Right? So the plan was to, obviously, in order to execute this and create the roster spot, we needed to put him on waivers. But we're going to take this week to try to use as a reset. So he's been assigned to the Marlies. He's not practicing at this stage, and is not planning to play with the Marlies at this stage. But we're using this week to get him some one-on-one time, and he'll be working with Hannu Toivonen back in Toronto, our development team, our performance team off the ice, and really it's a physical and a mental reset.
Nothing says physical and mental reset like a development team of people staring at you going, get better, fix it.
So no Marlies.
Here it is. No real Marlies time.
I don't know how I feel about that. And it could be fine. Like, I'm just guessing. It could be exactly what he needs, or it may not be enough.
I do think it's good that he's not playing games. I think if you put him in games, you run the risk of him being Jack Campbell. It's the American League. There's different quality shooters. You go in and there's, 5 go in one night and you look bad and it just gets worse. Like you can't.
I don't buy that.
Why not?
I don't buy that because you are in a defensive mode here. You're in a you're in a what can go wrong mode.
I sure am.
Well, what's giving you the feeling that it's going to go the other way?
Correct. So you bring him back up, and it continues to be bad. Like if he is going to continue to stink, I want it in the Marlies. I don't want it back with Toronto.
Yeah.
And the Maple Leafs.
I think, though, he makes $3.3 million for the Toronto Maple Leafs right now. And I imagine whatever deal they cook up to replace him this year, which it now feels like is going to happen at some point, they're going to want him to go the other way. And I don't think it helps if he plays 6 games for the Marlies with an .838 save percentage.
But what happens if he plays 6 games for the Marlies and he goes 5-1 and it's .920?
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe he goes from the compensation you have to send with him is less, I guess. I get your point that right now no one thinks too highly of him, but at least you haven't made him an AHL goalie yet.
If he's had time off already. He's had one-on-one time already.
Lots.
The only difference is now he's doing it at the Marley Arena, and he's been waived.
Yeah.
So other than that, what has really changed from day one?
Yeah, it's legitimately no different, right? Like they share the Ford Performance Center. It's a different pad of ice that maybe he's on, but his salary's the same. The people are the same.
It could work. It could work.
Sure,
it could be.
The randomness could play in their favor too.
Kelly Rudy went on Hockey Night in Canada this past Saturday and suggested that he goes away for a week to Florida. And my first thought watching that was, I stunk when I played. I was a healthy scratch. Where was my trip to Disneyland?
I know.
Where was the team to tell me that, go down and lie on the beach for a while, get away from it all and come back. But you'll be better.
In defense of Kelly, that might be a more different thing than what he's about to do now.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. Like, why don't you take him down to Florida and rent the sheet of ice?
This is, we're at the tin cup part of this where you put the teas in your left pocket when you got the shanks. We're just going, I don't know. What if he hangs upside down and eats brownies? Is this like they're out of ideas here? They can't use him, guys. He has been so bad for them this season on a 1-year deal. He has no value as an asset, I'm saying, and you don't trust. Even if he comes back and plays good, you're going to put him in the playoffs? It's been too much bad.
Okay, let's go to Tree Living on Samsonov's timeline because, again, this plays a key part on what changes.
Sure.
Let's have a listen.
Well, the week is really because we're gone, right? So once we get back in, we monitor daily, see where he's at. But this isn't something where you're saying, okay, we'll scramble together on Wednesday and say, how did everything go today? Right. This allows him to breathe a little bit for the week. Get him out of the environment that he was in, where sometimes you're just going around on the, on the Ferris wheel here, and just let him refocus, reset, and then when we get back, we'll see where we're at.
So this has everything.
They have no idea.
This has everything to do with the belief that he's a very good goalie. It's just all in his head right now.
I don't know if they believe it, but what choice do they have?
That's 100% that they just clear his head, get away from it. So it's the pressure of just being day to day around the team. This alleviates the pressure so you can clear your mind and then just come back and be the goalie that you were before.
I think if they believed he was a very good goalie, they would have given him more than 1 year and gone to arbitration with him and all that. I think the suggestion that what you're talking about is like, if he is a good goalie, that could help, right? That's one of the things that if he is in fact a good goalie, this could help him. Do they believe that? I'm skeptical. I mean, that arbitration they went through, where they basically, you're not kind to people and you're skeptical of them. Like, some of that has to be real. I think this just confirmed.
I've been through an arbitration. They tell you why they don't want to pay you.
Right.
And okay.
Because of the skepticism.
Hundreds of guys have gone through it.
I'm just saying that they went through that because they clearly didn't fully believe in this guy. And it feels to me like they must not believe at all anymore. And what else do you do while you try to figure out plan B? You got to buy time here. And now we get the Hildebeest.
So let me ask you this, though. Even if he comes back up, and you guys have both played high-level hockey, NHL, whatever, how many good starts in a row? Or what's the point of them trusting him again? Because every single guy in that team, it's the number one thing they talk about. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah.
They're getting him away from this environment is probably the whole team is not a huge fan of what's going on with him and them losing these games because of him and him having the worst. Is it the worst qualified save percentage in the league or second worst?
I think it is. Yeah.
How good does he have to be to win back your team's trust?
I don't know if there's enough time.
I agree. I totally agree. It's January. The March trade deadline is 2 months away. That's 8 weeks. Maybe it's 9 weeks, whatever it is. Well, you're right. So if he plays, he's gone for a week and then he comes up and splits starts with someone, he's only going to get 10 starts or something in the best case scenario. They're finding a solution. And I don't know that they intend for Hildeby to be a solution, but what else they can do right now?
What can you see in drills that will make you feel a lot better that he will start, his next start will be with the Toronto Maple Leafs? What do you like? How good of a practice player do you need to be?
When you convince me.
You've got goaltenders, goalie coaches shooting pucks at you stationary, or you have some movement, and I guarantee you, whoever is that
is helping
coach
him save it.
Isn't Mitch Marner or Kucherov or some of the best players on the planet recreating those types of scenarios? What drills do you think that you can come up with that will replicate anything against the best players in the world?
Do you think it makes me a good or a bad radio host that you so quickly convinced me that you're right? There's nothing. You would have to. I was going to be like, well, you have to play the game, Nick.
And that's not even against the best players with the Marlies.
No.
I need him to play against real competition and create real game situations. Yeah. There's just not a practice world my world that exists that can tell you that was all in his head, because the Samsonov that we've watched to get to this point isn't between the ears. Buddy, you don't track the puck. You don't see the puck.
Slide too far.
You overcommit. Okay? You're not seeing the puck right now.
It's almost trying too hard, watching the games. I guess their case would be like, have you ever looked at a problem for 3 hours and you can't figure it out and you step away and you come back and you're like, oh, okay, I got it. I guess the idea is if he's playing, does that really allows him to step away, the mental freshness?
At least with Bright Tree Living, I hear is we're just going to go day to day here. I hope that he practices so well that they would feel comfortable to say, give him one game with the Marlies before we bring him back.
You look at the Leafs schedule here. It looks like this is a move to buy themselves a little time because they play the Kings tonight. Obviously, a really good team. You have Martin Jones
is getting it regardless.
And we can listen to Keith talking about tomorrow night's plan with the Ducks. But then you have a few days off. You got the Sharks. You come home again. You got the Sharks.
It's Duck, Sharks. You're looking at 30,
this
32,
to me is them being
ranks.
We're sitting in it. Well, he's going home. We're out here. We'll figure this out when we get home.
Yeah.
It's like when you're leaving in a rush and you leave the dishes on there. You're like, I'll do that when I get home.
That's future me's problem.
I'll get that one done when I get there. He's the dishes right now.
And make no mistake, I'm not writing off Samsonov. I'm not.
As a career.
Yes, or as a goalie to come back with the Leafs. And
I am.
And I
am.
Are you?
Yeah.
And this is where I go.
Yeah.
JB, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But I just don't want to do that just yet. And I think first week in January is enough time for the Leafs to say, let's find a different approach to get this guy's game going again. I think there is enough time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're probably right.
You know, like they just had this stretch of hockey where they were pretty good. You know, in some of the games they went, I think, 1-4-1 in their last 6 or something. His save percentage was like .850. Like, he buried them. That Columbus game was atrocious.
How many games are we into the season? 34 for the Leafs?
Yeah, at least.
That's
34th. Yeah.
Okay, that's lots of time here.
No, I know there's lots of time, but
And
the
there's
trade
lots of time
deadline's
for
the
him
real
to-
deadline, not game 82.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But between now and March, second week of March, third week of March of a trade deadline, like, you don't have to make a major decision on your goaltending. Hildeby was always about just buying you a week, 10 days.
We have Tree Living on looking for outside help. Let's start there
Good
next.
segue.
Jonas, we always look at everything, right? So this has created a situation where we think we got a good goalie. He's shown he's been a good goalie. How do we help him get back to that form? In the meantime, the manager always has to do his job of continuing to look at ways to improve the team, right? Now, having said that, I checked outside. The goaltender tree was empty. I couldn't pick one off there today. So we'll see with a little bit of sun, maybe they grow a few more. But we know we've got guys who have shown to be good goaltenders in this league. We've got we're working with Ilya to get him back to that form. You know, Joe's had a great start to the season. We're working with him to get him healthy, and Martin's had a good career. So our depth's being tested in that position. We're going to work and try to make the guys we've got as good as they can be, and we always look to see if there's areas that can help us outside.
All right. Kept it a little light for you there, Sammy.
They've hated that joke.
Oh my God. Carlin over here. Holy smokes. When's Trees pointing at yucks. God.
All right, so there's no one.
Sorry,
no
Tree. It's
goalies
just a
on the
terrible-
goaltender tree.
Terrible joke.
Well, listen,
The media down there loved
it
it.
gets it'll remain okay if Martin Jones has a good game tonight, and these guys can buy Tree time.
Yeah, I mean, but I think at some point you love Martin Jones, and I think what he's given the Leafs here has been incredibly important. Just a steadying veteran, but like we've seen his numbers for the last 5 years. Like I think we kind of know where this is headed. I don't think your plan should be, we'll ride Martin Jones for a long time here. Like you have some soft competition coming up, like I mentioned, but this is within the next couple weeks here. You got to figure this out.
I do agree though that like, first of all, there's nowhere to go outside. There's no one right now that you could look at and definitively say that that's worth changing the makeup of my goaltending depth tomorrow.
I want Kevin Lankinen. That's my guy. I decided that's the guy I want.
You do, eh?
Yeah. You know, you're just taking.
Where is he? Nashville? Where is it?
Yeah, you're just taking shots on guys, right? And I don't know. He's 28 years old. He's had some success in the league. He's been a backup. He's a 900 right now, but he's a 916 last year for Nashville. He had a couple years at 909. Like he's
at a million.
He's cheap. See if I can find it. He makes 2.
Too expensive.
Well, unless
too expensive.
Yeah, but they could retain on that. He's not.
Oh gosh, now you got to give up an asset. No, they're not going to do that. And then if
Quit
you do,
screwing around against
if you do it, that means that you've written off Samsonov.
Yeah,
and that they're not ready to do that.
Yeah,
and I'm not convinced that guy would be any better.
No, I'm not either, by the way. But to me, it's just if you're going to pick a lottery ticket, he's a good one.
Yeah, you're making a change for the sake of making a change.
Yes, for sure. So they bring in Dennis Hildeby, the Hildebeest, who
who can't be any worse.
No, can't be. I mean,
right?
It can't
no, at
be.
the end of the day, I'm sorry, but that's, and I know Elliot talked about, protecting his future and all of that, but come on. You're not going to ruin the guy. Even if he gets lit up, you're not ruining the guy.
Thank you. I keep hearing this. What?
That's just such a funny. The state of 2024 Toronto Maple Leafs goaltending. It can't be any worse.
Can't be any worse.
And I hear this all the time. Where and when I was with the Marlies, they didn't want to yo-yo guys. They were like, we'll call him up when he's ready to be up, and that's fine for a player. Like I know some people didn't love Nick Robertson, up down, whatever. But it's not. That's not how it always works. The circumstances don't let you just cook something in the oven until it's ready. Then it's meal time and everyone. It's just sometimes in hockey you got to be ready a little bit before you thought you were. You might have to go back down. Whatever. My example here is Eric Källgren. Källgren was here for the Leafs. not a great NHL goaltender. He came up and over 2 years, he started 22 games. They lost 6 of them in regulation. He was like a 900 or 898 save percentage in the NHL. Since then, he's an 850 in the AHL. Not a very good goalie at that level. He's fine, whatever. But they didn't get killed when he was up. Hildeby can come up, and they can win with this guy in net. He's a pro goalie.
What I've been able to kind of know from my experience of playing over 100 games in the American Hockey League to the NHL and then watching it as a broadcaster is like the difference.
Margins are tight.
They're tight with goalies.
Yeah.
And they're all good at the American Hockey League. They're good goaltenders.
Especially when you're huge.
They're the best of what's outside of the NHL.
It's not like there's this cutoff at 62 goalies and the 63rd stinks.
So what is the difference between them playing in the American Hockey League and the NHL? It's just a level of consistency. No different than your 100th ranked golfer to your top 15.
100 ranked golfer can shoot 65 some days. Can't do it as often.
And that's all you're looking at.
Go shoot 73.
You asked us, and we've seen some of the goalies over the past from the Leafs come up and have success. You mentioned one earlier before. Sjögren.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know where is he? New Jersey?
He's in Utica.
Utica with an 8.53 save percentage.
In the American League.
So he's no good down there. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, and he was fine for the Leafs.
And he was fine. He came up with some decent efforts.
Hildeby's been .919 in the AHL. He's not going to be a joke.
And he's not going to get lit up like a Christmas tree where you go, this is embarrassing. No, he's not going to embarrass himself.
No, he's not.
And the Leafs won't.
And were it to happen, he wouldn't die.
They wouldn't embarrass him like that.
No, you're saying like if it was going wrong, they'd pull him out.
Well, yeah, and the team's still too good.
Yeah, they're going to protect him as best they can.
Embarrass him or the whole organization.
And for the record,
he'll be fine.
Samsonov was well protected against Columbus. The Leafs gave up 4 or 5 shots in the first period. They gave up 22 over the whole game, maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. They protected the hell out of him, and it wasn't enough. So, he'll be fine for a couple nights.
Do you want to hear the plan for the goaltending this week?
Yeah.
From the head coach now? Move from the general manager to the head coach? Keith Clip 2.
Plan is to just take each day as it comes here and try to get them up to speed at the NHL level. Obviously, NHL shooters and such it's a different animal, as he may have learned when Austin came down and blew one by him there in one of the first drills. Yeah, I think just you want to get comfortable, which is what I saw as the more and more the skate went on. You could really see, that he was getting comfortable in his reads, and obviously the size. A lot of pucks just hit him because of the size. But plan is just to get him comfortable here, and my message to him is he's here. He's the second guy right now, and like you would have the message for any guy that's the second guy is your job's to be ready for any opportunity that might come up or anytime we may need you. As we look at our week, and in particular this back-to-back that's coming, we haven't ruled out utilizing Jones in both those games. I think as far as...
So, thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
Toronto plays LA tonight. We'll be on the panel tonight with Elliot Friedman and David Amber tonight at 10:30. You going to be up?
But I didn't make it to midnight on New Year's Eve. We're going to be up till 1 o'clock doing this.
We are.
I'm doing Leafs talk with Ailish tonight, too. We're going to be a sleepy crew tomorrow.
Tomorrow
I'll
night.
be up with my kids at 6. Should be fun.
Tomorrow night, Toronto faces Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night, they face San Jose. Is there a world you see where Hildeby does not get one start in the next 3? I'll start with you, JB.
There's a world where I could see it, where they just really decide that this guy's not ready, which to me would be a bit of an indictment. If you don't feel like you can put him in against the San Jose Sharks on a back-to-back, the Anaheim Ducks on a back-to-back. I mean, good Lord. Get him in there.
I think if he's going to start, it'll be the back-to-back, because they're going to put Jones in where he played, right? He played for the Sharks forever.
Yeah.
He'll probably play there. But they did this last year. Remember? With Samsonov? They played him back-to-back when Keith Petruzzelli was the backup.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
Yeah, like they had Petruzzelli, and everyone's like, "Oh, you got to start Petruzzelli in the second half of the back-to-back," and they went with Samsonov in both.
Mm-hmm.
So they are familiar with doing this. I can't remember what part of the season that was last year, but they had some real goalie stuff. I bet you that they do Jones in both.
Jones is 33 though. Like Sammy was 25.
Yeah, I see Hildeby all night long tomorrow night in Anaheim.
Okay.
What are they? 13-23, one of the worst teams, one of the worst records. They stink. It's a perfect scenario.
Stuff one on you.
It would help a lot if it was coming off a pretty convincing win against LA tonight, and that could help them make the decision a lot easier if they knew that the team was kind of back on board. They shut down key guys tonight, and the team's feeling good going into Anaheim. If you want to see how much time that you really have for Samsonov, it would really help if you knew what you had with Hildeby a little bit with a small sample size tomorrow night.
Yeah, but like there's just no world where this is a year where Hildeby is a meaningful contributor come playoffs. Like people being like, I just want a steady backup. Let's see if this guy can do it. That's not this.
Yeah.
He's not going to be great for him to get some games and see what he can do and maybe bide them some time. But, does this team have cup aspirations? I would say yes.
They would.
Do you want to be
yes.
Joseph Woll and Hildeby as your duo? I would say no.
No.
So,
that's not what the tomorrow night's all about.
Exactly my point.
Tomorrow night's about
get us through, see what we got.
Samsonov has a mediocre week in your eyes. Maybe it's just a little bit longer.
Yeah. You know what? To your point about getting him back in and whatever, there's a much bigger chance that Samsonov is on this team in 2 months than Hildeby is still in the net in terms of, playing towards playoffs.
Yeah, and I think because Hildeby is like a prospect and, this team doesn't have a ton of prospects, people are really excited about him.
Yeah.
And like, oh, this could be the future. This is more of an emergency call-up than anything.
Yeah.
Like this, you think of this more as like a Petruzzelli type call-up where they just need a body on the bench.
Yep. And you look at the goaltenders, like when their prime is, would argue is different than skaters, and I would say it's a little bit older. Like I don't know how well it's Connor Hellebuyck now, pushing 30. Like some of the best guys in the league are that age, figuring out the position. So this kid can be okay for 5 years and still be a prospect. I
got a question for you, just about that Keefe clip we listened to. I just got a DM about it. I'm interested to get your take about him mentioning that Matthews went bar down on him in practice.
Well, it's been mentioned a couple places. I've seen it.
You think that's weird that he would say that?
It must have been like a ripper or something. Hildeby commented on it in his interview too. It was just like, as you saw in like the first drill, like, it takes a little, the shooters are different.
I would have gone a different approach, to be honest with you.
Really?
I think it's an honor though, right?
I wouldn't have made it
a talking point.
I don't think you necessarily need to
obvious.
say that. Yeah.
Let everybody else discuss it. I don't want to bring that energy in that you're not used to these type of shots.
The one thing I did say or did
it's fine.
read
It's
about
a throwaway comment.
It's the thing that's
it's
like,
not a big deal.
He sounds like a guy who's pretty whatever. Like he sounds a bit like Joe Woll, like he doesn't get too fazed by things. So you need guys like that. The Toronto market requires a slightly different temperament and stuff like that just can't bother you.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the start
and
of
he's literally the best shooter on earth.
Yeah.
There's not many guys, I guess, Bedard shoots it like Matthews a bit. Like who shoots it like Matthews? No one.
Yeah. Guys like pass to hit one-timers. Yeah.
Let's get Sheldon Keefe. We haven't played this one. Have we clip 6 on Martin Jones? Because this, to me, is a huge start for Martin Jones and can really dictate the temperature that the goaltending scenario will hit.
But if he stinks.
Well, save that comment.
Okay.
Let's listen to Sheldon on clip 6 on Martin Jones.
Yeah, obviously huge to have him, to have him here and how he's played for us. You look at it and I think, coming into today's practice, we basically had, certainly goalie 3 and Marty Jones and probably goalie 5 in Hildeby, who was, when we come into training camp, he had Petruzzelli was getting a little more time than Hildeby, and he thought he was going to take the year to be a developmental year for him, and now you got those 2 guys here, and you're counting on them. But to have someone with Jones' experience in the league, to just be calm and confident has really helped our team. Going into familiar buildings, as you mentioned, I hadn't thought of that a great deal, but I think that's, again, just the value of having the experience.
Boys, fifth goaltender got called up in the depth chart.
I heard a coach protecting himself there.
Like, fifth.
Yeah.
The next guy's the E-Bug.
Where's Airsy at? Call up Airsy.
I honestly heard a coach being like, you can't put me on the hook for this. We're at 3-5 here. This is
like Martin Jones cannot have a bad game here tonight.
But he could.
Oh, he could.
But he can't.
I get your point. Yes.
He can't.
Yes.
Because you know this town.
Been around it a minute now, yeah.
I disagree with that. I think he's got a little bit of runway here. People understand what this is. People aren't going to be like, oh, Martin Jones, he stunk. Like, it's like, yeah, you kind of expect it.
No,
he was their third guy who was playing for the Marlies for a quarter of the season.
It's not the conclusion that, you're talking about that he stunk. It's the where do they go from here that follows it, Sammy.
For sure, that. But I don't think people are going to kill Jones.
Well, it's,
Jones
you know what I mean?
It's not about Jones. It's about the Leafs.
Yes.
And
where are they if this guy gets lit up?
And all the, I would say a week or two ago, the Leafs were 4 points behind Boston. And it was kind of like, okay, this is like they could, contend for they're 9 back now.
Happened fast.
Just a blink. They're 9 back. And Florida's pulling away. Florida's now 5 ahead, a couple games there. But, Tampa's tied in points. All of a sudden is my point. It's like, okay, Jones, if he's not very good, we can't keep giving away points.
No.
Like it's crucial to keep picking up points along the way, and they're starting to scuffle.
And all of a sudden,
how quick do you have to do something if that happens
tonight?
And you're still 4 or 5 weeks away from Joseph Wall coming back,
and however long Samsonov's recovery takes.
Now,
how quick do you have to act?
If Martin Jones doesn't, he's the key in all of this in terms of truly buying you time. But if he doesn't, then you got to go to the tree, the goalie tree.
God.
Just pick off an unripe bud of a goalie and throw him in there.
Well, maybe sorrows could grow on that tree.
Like
but it does change then what you do with your assets.
Yeah,
and how you spend and try to improve.
If you want to get to the trade deadline
without having spent on a goalie.
Even if Joseph Wall comes back in 4 weeks and he's still looking great,
can't depend on it.
Are you trusting Joseph Wall now to be the guy?
I trust him technically more than I do health-wise.
Yeah, well, I was actually going to make that very point. It's not that I don't think he can play. It's that I don't know if he can be available.
And at the end of the day, they're kind of equal, right? Because whether or not he's no good or he's good, if he gets hurt, if you're worrying about him getting hurt as much as you are potentially him not playing well, then at the end of the day, you don't have him either way.
Isn't it stunning how many teams are having this conversation, though? Like, during our last show, we had one of the burning questions was, what team do you think most needs a goalie? And it was like Buffalo, New Jersey, Carolina. The choices were like around the league. It was, a lot of teams are struggling to find one guy right now, which you would think would help.
Kochetkov looked pretty good on Saturday night for Carolina,
and they're nervous with him.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
They're such a good team. Like Carolina is a
and I think they're like second last in team save percentage this year, and it's killed them. They're starting to get good goaltending, and they're starting to win.
It's just quickly before we go to break.
We're humming along.
Yeah, we got to. I'm just so sick of the Leafs wasting these points against bad teams because it's the difference. Like think about they lose 9-3 to before the break. They lose 9-3 to Buffalo. They lose to Ottawa. They lose to the Columbus. And I guess a lot of that has to do with goaltending, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's like this just how many years has this been this? It's every year of the Matthews era. It's the same well, not every year, but the last 4 years for sure. Them wasting points against these bad teams, and it costs them. And that's why they have to play these juggernauts in the first round.
The Leafs against the bottom 7 teams in the NHL, and this was part of our broadcast that we did the other night, are 3-6-2, if I'm not mistaken, below a .400 winning percentage.
An infuriating trend.
Which is 30th in the league, around Chicago, Ottawa, San Jose, or the teams around them there. If you just take care of the business a little bit.
It's infuriating. And now you're going to have to play the Florida Panthers in the first round, or if you have to fall down to a wild card and you play the Rangers, or
It's not great.
Win the division for once.
Boys, that's 35 minutes just talking about the goalies.
9 other topics to get to.
35 minutes.
Well,
going to break.
There's lots to say.
Can we please discuss facing the Kings tonight outside of the net after the break?
They scratched David Camp and then gave up 2 shorties the same night and lost.
There's the next 35 minutes gone now. All right, that and more. We promise on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Hope everybody had a happy new year.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I did? Nothing.
I was talking to the listeners and
Not
viewers,
Sam and I?
not you guys.
I did nothing for the first time in a long time. It was excellent. Cooked a ribeye in bed by 12:30.
Yeah, we made a 3-layer dip and watched
Are
Wolf of
you
Wall
one of
Street. It was
those
great.
New Year's Eve is for amateurs?
Well, as a former drinker, that was
Yes.
certainly a stance of mine, and now it's for people younger than me. I'm just an old.
Yeah. Felt it this year.
Before we get into the Leafs versus the Kings, there's lots of talk about William Nylander.
Ooh.
And,
What kind of talk?
well, just
Words.
it's trending closer
Sounds.
to the Leafs and Willie getting a deal done, is what I hear.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, I've heard similar.
And the general feeling amongst, I think, both sides is they'd like to get it done before the NHL All-Star weekend.
So that is February 3rd. That is 1 month from now.
The other belief is that it will be a number
That's good.
is over 11. So
That's good.
11.25 is the one that is probably mentioned the most.
Mm-hmm.
Times 8.
Yeah.
You okay?
If I may, this gentleman that we are discussing right now is
Really good.
he's 5th in the NHL in scoring, tied with Connor McDavid. I mean, David Pastrnak is 2 points more than him right now.
So,
It's tough to.
so that would put him right with Pasternak, correct?
Yeah. What's past?
11.25, I think.
Is it exactly?
I don't
Yeah.
know. Can you?
I can make that
Yeah.
happen.
The only one.
The question I have for you, Kipper.
The only one is Panarin, I think, at 11.6 on an AAV.
Yeah. Would you say that he took a discount like he did with Pastrnak if Willie said?
No,
Pasta is 11.25.
11.25. Yeah, I think there's an argument to be made that that's the number, and either you like it or you don't.
You know, at some point when you have negotiations about value, you can't argue with the numbers. Like he produces it at the same rate as some of the great, the best
Now,
players in the league.
The other thing you got to consider, Sammy, is that when the Leafs can front load this and turn it into a 12 or $13 million upfront signing bonus, it's worth a heck of a lot more than 11.25. It creates greater value in real money.
For sure it does, but it also helps the Leafs down the road if you don't like the back end of the deal. The real money owed is so much less.
Absolutely. And in 4 or 5 years, if the cap's up towards 100, north of $100 million, 11.25 for a 40-goal scorer, 100-point guy is not crazy here.
And I do think the way that Willie skates and shoots the puck, that he's got a lot of good years left. I don't think, another 5 years as a top contributor.
I don't think a lot of people can make an argument that this is crazy.
No. I guess the only thing you would do is you would hold up other players who have signed, in the, which Carolina guy? Is it Aho or one of them signed for 9.5,
Sebastian Aho.
I think. There's some guys,
Which is
one
such a
Kachuk
good deal.
took the 9.5 in Florida, who, he was a Hart Trophy guy. So this,
And Aho is so good.
yeah. And so this is what you would do as the team. You'd say, what about these guys?
Yeah.
And they'd say, what
you know
about
what? They've tried that.
Yeah.
They've tried that. And it's
the team goes, what about these guys? And they say, okay, We'll just leave then.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we'll just wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll just wait
and see if I get more than 9.5.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, yeah, you definitely
He
will.
really wants to stay.
Loves Toronto.
And if you also value that, even Panarin had to leave Columbus
to get the money.
to get 11.6, but that was over 7
Mm-hmm.
years. Willie would get the 8th year at over $11 million. I mean, how do you say no to over $90 million?
Yeah. And, another one in Willie's corner is that he's a pretty unflappable guy. He knows this market well. This market has done all they could to beat him down, trade him. And he's just like, I'm just going to keep shooting in the net.
I think
Call me when you want to pay me.
I would be really scared of that number that you brought up if last year didn't happen.
In playoffs.
No, just in general.
Mhm.
Because he was 40 goals last year, and that's the type of year that you would expect him to have in a contract. I don't think he's what he's right now. I really do think that the contract year is a bit of a
He's
thing.
on pace for 117 points.
Which
last
and his highest was 87 before that,
Yeah.
which it's a massive number. But even if he regresses a little bit with the cap going up, he's probably going to be worth that. It's visually, and it's going to look scary.
Yeah. Can you do all these? Can you do Tavares next year as well? Can you have all these guys making that much money for 1 year? Is it doable? Reminds me of Minnesota's cap situation where it's you're really handcuffed, but then it'll be good after that.
Except they have really good
it's going to be hard.
That's much different.
It's going to be hard because you got to also factor in that you have all these expiring contracts which help, but you have to replace them.
Yes.
And the question is, can you Max Domi, I know the goals haven't been there, but he's played very well lately.
Mm-hmm.
And he is on pace for 50 points?
He is now, in terms of their leading scorers, there's the big four guys, Morgan Riley, fifth forward's Max. 21 points last I checked, which was this morning.
Okay, so,
They haven't
so
played?
if Max ends up with 50 points, that's could be worth more than $3 million somewhere else, and maybe he takes less to stay, but you're still going to have to replace those dollars.
Bertuzzi.
Well, this
Right,
Bertuzzi thing's becoming an issue, Kip. $5.5 million. I know I went on air and talked about how, his underlying numbers are really good. He doesn't have any points, Kip. He's played with the best players in the league for most of the season. And what was he, 14 points, 6 goals and 14 points in 34 games for $5.5 million? That's great. He's driving play, but at some point you'd like him to tip on the net or run someone over.
Drive the puck into the net, potentially.
It's really strange that when you consider that you're playing with proven point producers.
Bunting, 56 points in that spot.
Yeah. Okay, give me somebody else, though.
What's that?
Over the last 3 years?
That's played in that spot. It's been a revolving door.
I know, but
Zach Hyman was.
Bunting's the only one.
Well, Hyman he did pretty well.
They weren't thrilled with Bunting. People got to realize that one of the major reasons why is that, I don't think Matthews was thrilled with playing with Hyman back then.
Is that right? I don't know. So what's your point, though?
My point is that no one seems to be able to produce points.
Mm-hmm.
And other than Bunting.
Yeah.
Really.
Kip, you look at the group people who have been in that spot. Tyler Bertuzzi is the first one who didn't work. Bunting, way above his career numbers in that spot, way above, right? For what he'd ever done as a 26 or 27-year-old. Who else went there? Calle Yarncroc went there and shot it in the net more than he used to. Who else played in that spot?
Thornton, Marlowe, Richie.
Richie's in Finland and suspended. Thornton and Marlowe are retired. Not an NHLer. They haven't had guys there in that spot.
Malkin. Oh my God.
That
video of Richie was. That was
what's he doing?
It was he went a little squirrely.
Think about Marner and Nylander averaging 95, 105 points without a left winger. Can you imagine now if you took Marchand, away from Pasternak, and I know they've been off and on, but over the course of all these years, like, can you imagine if those guys had a real producing left winger, what those numbers could have been like the last few years?
Yeah. I was trying to think of lines like that. And like, so Crosby had Kunitz. Was Kunitz a guy like that? Kind of
he made Kunitz.
Plugged him in and he just worked for
Pascal
whatever
Dupuis
reason.
worked really well with Sid for a while.
Yeah.
Now Gensel and him are just like
right. But these are duos. Like the only real, like, it's tough to have a 3-person line. Obviously, when Bergeron was there with Marchand and Pasternak, that's like
the perfection line.
It's really strange to me that Bertuzzi, with his eyes closed, can't get 55 points.
Could not agree more.
It's just strange.
Stand around the net, tips them in.
No, but he's tried that. He's tried that, and it's just he has been around the net. It's just
what is the issue?
I
do you
don't
think?
know.
I feel like you're not telling me what you really think.
No. Trust me, if I had an answer, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seems like seems to be around the net. I don't know whether or not it's enough or it's too much or they need him making more plays outside of that 6-foot radius in front of the net.
I think if we didn't know
Bunting handled the puck. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no.
Bunting handled the puck a lot more outside of that area.
I can't Bertuzzi remember him having it. When does he ever have the puck? He never has it. He makes little touch plays here and there, but he never has it.
He doesn't carry it.
No. I think if you could go back to my dad's era where you didn't know what people made and you just looked at the players on the roster, Bertuzzi long ago in this group, you would have said, take some run on the third line. We're going to play Max on the left wing. He seems to be able to handle it and make some plays with these guys. It feels to me like he's where he is because they've paid him and they want to give him the chance to make them look right about him.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
And it hasn't looked right.
I would like to see Max in the top 6 a little bit.
I'm
here
ready.
And there. Once in a while.
I have greatly warmed to Domi.
Not all the time, but few shifts here
there's
and there.
times when he turns the puck over.
For sure.
But
he's got the skill to play with those guys.
That's his mind is thinking about making these plays that other players won't make.
Yeah.
And he's got to find that fine balance of holding on to the puck or putting it in a safe position other than a high-risk position. And you hope that, that's the next focus in the next 40-plus games.
Well, the way I think of him now is that he's a guy that when you're coaching, you play situationally. If you're up, I'd rather see more David Kampf, and we can get to that in a minute, but I'd rather see more Kampf, who played 3C for them quite a bit.
We're running out of time here. Yeah. You okay with David Kampf being benched? And was it his wife who sent out the consecutive game streak of 5 years? Did we even know about that?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not.
By the way,
you're not Patrick Marleau.
At 323 games or whatever the thing was.
It's the NHL.
Yeah, we expect you to play. That's great.
But I do think it was stupid to bench him.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, he's your best penalty killer.
Yeah,
and you don't have anyone else that kills penalties, and you gave up 2 power play goals to a really good power play.
If you can't bench David Kampf, who can you bench?
They're the best power play in the league for a month, Carolina. And you're taking out your best penalty killer going in. That's a stupid decision.
This is hypocritical.
No, it's not.
Yes,
it's not.
It is. Because all the time we talk about holding people accountable in this team and how the team doesn't do it enough.
David Kampf turned one over. Oh, my. Bench someone else.
Is he even good?
Okay. Outside, it's a big message for me. To me, he's probably core-ish bottom 6 guy.
He's got a 4-year deal.
What a compliment.
Outside of benching Tavares, Marner, Nylander, and Matthews, that's a pretty big message.
Yeah, it is a big message. Are we not okay with a big message being sent?
Not the night before you're playing the hottest power play in the league, and he's your only good penalty killer.
The problem is it's not situational. It's when you deserve it and you're not making the right decisions. And that's why everyone in my mentions says, what about Mitch Marner? When's he going to be held accountable for turnovers? And that's...
Tavares turns the puck over just as much as anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Would you ever bench your captain?
Probably not.
Who can we bench?
Not many after the big core 4.
I mean, this has been a complaint. We ran out of time. This has been a complaint about Keefe this whole year from you guys. All of a sudden, everyone's...
We're just warming up in the year 2024. The national show's up next on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Don't go away. and Bourne National Edition in 2024. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We are live on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Boys, 10-day hiatus. Just get on the bike and start pedaling again.
I just realized we went a full hour of radio and television without mentioning that Canada lost at the World Juniors in the quarterfinals. I just thought of that. Bad producer.
You know who could have seen that coming? Everyone we had on the show to talk about the World Juniors.
Google was like, I don't know about these guys. Anyways, thought I should probably mention that.
Is your heart broken a little bit? I didn't watch the first period, but I saw them pretty much dominate the second and third.
Yeah.
And then with 11 seconds left, they get a horrific
bounce off of Oliver Bonk, who plays for London, who's also Radek Bonk's kid, who's like clearly a famous Czech, won the gold medal with the Czechs, deflects it into his own net against the Czechs. Poor kid. I hate the
celebrated in his home country.
Like at this point, if you're above the age of like 18 or 19, getting really bent out of shape about this level of hockey is really bad. Like I was watching the game, I was like, oh crap, they lost, turned it off. Like I get excited when they win. I love the level of hockey, but if you're like mean to the kids,
it's like, give me shout out to Oliver Bonk, who's a great player.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, just absolute
unlucky. Wrister off the stick into the net. 10 seconds left. Sucks, but yeah. Just don't send mean DMs to them.
Don't say that to the bean counters who, there's big money to be made with the Canada going to a final, boys.
Well, yeah.
I heard the game was on, but I didn't want to watch. I heard it was on a different network, so I didn't.
No, I love that level of hockey. So
and when you consider, Sammy, all the World Junior stuff that you've watched over the past, like how many bounces have gone Canada's way?
A million
over the years.
A million.
What, Mason McTavish pulling that one off the goal line?
And think about like the most famous goal in World Junior history, maybe with Eberle, where like it goes off a guy's thing, it lands on his stick on the backhand, he ties it. Can you believe it? Yeah, so they've gotten a lot of good breaks. Way it goes. Apparently America's juggernaut.
Outside of that, we had an outdoor game in Seattle between the Kraken and Vegas Golden Knights. Eddie Olczyk's going to join us in a few minutes.
Of course, great
hockey analyst for TNT, and he covered the game as well in Seattle. So we'll get a feel for that game. But like the spectacle never gets old. Although we've seen it 1,000 times, it is still pretty cool to see that helicopter shot of a 80,000 seat stadium.
Yeah, and the way they lean into the local markets is so cool. Like this, Seattle coming in the fisherman garb, them tossing fish over their heads.
You okay with that?
I love it.
Or is that just a rip off of the Red Wings with the octopus?
No, that's from the market.
Yeah.
That's from the, what's it called? Pike Place Market?
When they walked out onto the ice, they were throwing fish back and forth between the guys,
okay.
like a whole, not just fish on the ice.
And you're okay with that?
Yeah, it's great.
All right.
Fully entertaining. Good pace to the game. I actually really enjoyed this Winter Classic.
I saw a little bit of like conjecture about, the expansion team, you get a world. It's like, oh, great. We're going to have to watch Blackhawks and Penguins again.
So
it's
are they in the league or are they not in the league?
Yeah,
if they're a team, they get to be a part of this. It's
10 out of 10. Jerseys, unbelievable.
Vegas, whoever made their original jerseys, should have watched that game and just felt great shame.
Yeah.
Because those jerseys were beautiful.
They were,
Seattle's
I'm
too.
not a jersey guy, but I really like the Vegas one.
Looked great.
The barber pole for Seattle with like the red pops out nicely. Like both of those should be their primary jerseys.
Legit. Totally agree. So yeah, that was exciting. The World Juniors disappointing. Lots going on in the hockey world. The Leafs goaltending, fireworks are fun. We just covered that in the last hour.
Yeah, if there's one thing our national audience wants to hear, it's how the Leafs are in trouble with goaltending. They love that.
You guys want to hear something? At least been losing.
It wasn't Grubauer who pitched a shutout either for
Joey
Seattle.
Daccord.
Okay, so like, what are we watching here now when we look at the goaltending position as a whole here?
I'm telling you, analytics people have given up on goaltending. Like, I don't know.
It's never been, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe devalued position?
Well, it's like the running back in the NFL now. It's like, I don't know. Just put this guy in and they're all kind of the same. Maybe he'll block some. Maybe he won't.
But the difference with that analogy is the reason it's like that is because there's a million good ones.
Right.
It's not because there's
100%.
no good ones.
It's because they're all kind of pretty good.
Yeah, and there's all the NHL goalies are kind of bad.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Like, I think the goaltending improved so rapidly, and it kind of hits a ceiling where you can't get that much better with the shooters as good as they are now. And who can maintain that level? Like 10 guys.
Outside of Hildeby, who's 6'7".
Yeah.
And maybe Levi, who's in Buffalo, who's 5'11".
Mm-hmm.
They kind of all look the same now.
Yeah. Not too much difference in style.
And they're coached kind of the same.
And I will say, when you see a variation in style, like a guy like Samsonov is aggressive and pushes a lot, it's usually bad. Peter Mrazek pushes a lot, aggressive, not great. Everyone's kind of quiet. They block and they say, if you can hit this little spot, you can have it. And the guys go, yeah, we can.
Didn't we see that against Edmonton and the LA Kings with Connor McDavid's goal? Did you see that one? Just about a foot off the goal line?
Well, and Willie did it last game against Columbus.
They love waiting these goalies out now.
Yeah, they get the reverse VH and they go ting.
And they drop.
Yeah.
Like a stone.
The goalies need to go back to the drawing board, being like, we got to stop offering that little pocket because they can hit it.
And you mentioned Peter Mrazek, he of a 904.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
Is he available?
So the save percentage continues to drop.
League-wide, I think it's 903 now, down from 915 some 6 years ago.
That's a big
903 average.
That's a big drop.
Significant. Yeah, the shooting is just, it has evolved, to say the least.
But 2 examples in Canada where, hey, it still pays to have a pretty good goalie, and you may have to pay for it a little bit. Demko in Vancouver, Connor Hellebuyck in Winnipeg.
The problem is people don't know who to pay, because how many of those guys are doing consistently? Shesterkin, Sorokin, Hellebuyck, Demko.
Half a dozen.
Yeah, there's a half a dozen guys in the league. You're like, that guy can continue to do it. Other than that, it's like these guys.
And there's 25 where you just scratch your head and go, I don't know what I'm going to get.
Looking through the stats, like Aiden Hill, I guess, is the best goalie in the league right now, according to the numbers.
Hey, Canadian.
Is he?
Yeah.
Put him in net.
Let's go. We're back.
Let's go.
And he only got what on a new deal? He won the Stanley Cup, and he only got what, 3-3?
Is that I think a
so.
2-year deal or something? Was it?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Oh, is it more than that? Okay, yeah.
But
even then, the team wasn't like.
He knew.
Yeah. I mean, Grubauer went and got his money in Seattle and struggled a bit. Kemper.
2-year, $9.8 million contract.
Okay.
Well, that's a lot of money he's making. I mean,
but
not compared to players. Yeah, he's not making Tyler Bertuzzi number.
4.9. He's the best goalie in the league, according to stats.
True.
So that's pretty good value.
I would say so.
Samsonov waived at 3.5 or 3.3. But the Leafs are looking rather smart today without overcommitting on term.
Yeah. This is expires at the end of this year, at least.
Okay, as promised, we went out and got the best guest we could get, 2024. He couldn't join us, so let's bring in Eddie Olczyk. Eddie, we're giving you a chance.
Hey, Barney.
What's up, pal?
How are you? Are you okay from the outdoor game? Was it? How was the temperature?
It was good. Yeah, it was. I mean, our position was up in the actual baseball press box, and windows were open, so it did get a little chilly. We had a little bit of wind up there, but no complaining when it's 43 or 44 degrees and overcast. And know that did the game from ice level when the Leafs were at the Big House and taking on the Red Wings when it was like minus 4 degrees and sleeting and slushing and whatever else it was going on. And that was the coldest, even more so, I think, than the first game in Buffalo. That game at Ann Arbor at the Big House was as cold as I've been at any event. So it was a lot of fun, and the league did another great job. And I think the game was pretty entertaining. I don't know what you guys thought as far as on TV, but I think the sightlines were unbelievable. And if it wasn't for the goalies, if it wasn't for Joey Decord and Logan Thompson, I think we could have had ourselves a 5-3 type of game because there's some of the unbelievable chances either teams had. So it was, I think, a win-win, and it was fun to be a very small part of it on the broadcast down here in the States.
Having been around so many of them, Eddie, is the magic still there? Is it still doing it for the local fans the way it did out of the gates?
Oh yeah, I do believe that, Borny. I think that just from hearing from the underground back in the day when this started to become a realistic possibility of having games outdoors in the National Hockey League and have them count for 2 points or in some games 3 points. There was some hesitation, and I think when you look back now, we have the greatest fans in the world. I don't think there's no doubt about that. National Hockey League fans are the greatest. And when you can get 47,000 plus like you did here in Seattle yesterday, or you can get 100,000 plus at the Big House, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and have the entertainment aspect of it and the curiosity aspect of it in a lot of these different cities that we've had. I mean, right. Boston, right? We've been to Fenway Park twice, so you knew what it was the first time. Mm-hmm. And of course, you had to go back and get another taste again because you're going into one of the iconic ballparks or stadiums in all of professional sport. It is. And even from the broadcast side, there is just something about being in the venue and seeing the backdrop and knowing what the building is for, the stadium is for on a regular basis. And all of a sudden, the NHL invades and it just becomes a hockey wonderland. And so long-winded, 100%. It's just, it takes me back to the days of when my dad would build a rink in our backyard growing up in the suburbs of Chicago, or going out and playing outdoors, or seeing my kids go out and play at outdoor rinks, whether we were time in Winnipeg or a time back in Chicago. It is about the grassroots, and I think it is a celebration of the game. And for me, anyways, I love being a very small part of it.
We're talking to Eddie Olczyk, hockey analyst with TNT. Does a terrific job covering the Kraken as well as the National Hockey League. Edzo, we were just having a conversation just prior to you coming on about the goaltenders and, whether or not, ultimately we'll ever see our era, Edzo, where we saw almost half the league spend $6, $7, $8 million on a star goaltender that they just said we cannot win without him. Right. And you just mentioned Joey Decord, and no, he's not Philip Grubauer, who's making $6 million yet. Mm-hmm. Tremendous amount of success. Can he continue it? How far do you think you can see him with success? It seems that the turnaround is kind of indicative of how he's been the last little while.
Well, I would disagree from the aspect of, maybe the thing I would agree is that the team has accumulated points here in the last 9. They've gone 9 straight games with points in that streak. The goaltending this year, to me, has been very good. The Kraken have been not battling to get above, that so-called playoff line because of their goaltending. Their goaltending has given them a chance pretty much. Look, every team has rough games. Every goalie has rough games. But I think in particular, Philip Grubauer, Joey Decord, and Chris Driedger. I mean, how about Chris Driedger's story? He hadn't played in a National Hockey League in 19 months. And he gets the first game coming out of the Christmas break, and Seattle goes into Calgary, and the guy plays unbelievable. So, I mean, what a lift that is, not only for the individual and Chris Driedger, but also for the team. And then Joey Decord comes in and plays well against Philadelphia, where the team didn't play that great early. He gave them a chance. But the goaltending in Seattle, to me, Kyper and Borny, if they're better players, or they're guys that are expected to do what they were expected to do like they did last year earlier, then this team would probably have another 8 or 10 points, and they would be up where Vancouver and Vegas and LA are. But their better players struggled early. But as of recently, these last 9 games, their better players have been just that. And I think it's kind of gone hand in hand. So for people that maybe don't follow the Kraken on a daily basis, their goaltending has been very good here recently, but the goaltending has been very good pretty much all season long, in my opinion. But their better players have been their better players. And, you guys know this. You need your best players to be at their very best each and every night, and they've done that, and they've gotten themselves back into a playoff spot. And look at this was a team that had 100 points last year and came within 1 goal of going to the conference final, and they're trying to get back to where they got to last year.
And so beyond the goaltending in Seattle, we were just talking league wide. Like league average save percentage is down to a 903 last I checked. You know, it was 915 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know, Drieger is a great example of a guy who it's like it feels like the line between an NHL starter and backup and AHL goalie is so thin these days. To what do you chalk up the decline of goaltending statistics and the lack of clean starters?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say that the importance and the understanding is that you're going to need two. I think you're going to need 2 guys, just because of the way that the game is now, Bourne, than maybe it was 10 years ago, 15 for sure. And then you want to go on. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the game is it just seems like there's more opportunity to create and generate offense. You know, the power play numbers, the creativity of the player now. A lot of teams sitting there, instead of erring on the side of defense, they're more going to say, you know what, we know we can get 4 or 5. So you just tell your goaltender, hey, Kyper, you just go whisper in the ear and you tell Ricky Rod or Glenn Healy and go, hey, just don't give up the 5th one and we're going to win the game. You know, like that's, you know, so, you know, I can't sit here and say it's any one thing as far as I'm concerned, Bourne, but you do need, I think it's proven, you do need a couple. And just look at Vegas for a second here, right? Like, look at the guys that they had last year play for them. And then all of a sudden, Aiden Hill, who was what, 3rd string, 4th? I mean, I don't even know what number he was last year, but all of a sudden he grabs the mantle and he's hoisting the Stanley Cup and signs a healthy contract, and had 4 or 5 teams that were willing to throw a lot of cake at him. And for a guy that was just trying to survive and stay in the National Hockey League. So I think team styles, the way that the game is, and you know, you got some prolific offensive players, and when they get looks, there's a pretty good chance that, you know, I mean, your Matthews and, you know, and I know Ovi's off to a tough start, but your Kyle Connors, your guys that maybe only need 1 or 2 chances to put the puck in the back of the net. You're starting to see more guys that all they need is, instead of needing 10 or 15 chances, a lot of these guys may only need 3 or 4. And when they get 3 or 4, they're going to put the puck into the back of the net. So it's great for the broadcasters because, you know, and I know, you know, I mean, in particular, just covering a lot of Seattle games. I mean, recently here, it just seems like every game is 2-1, 3-2. I know yesterday was 3-0, but as I said earlier, that game could have been 5-3. I mean, you could have had 8 or 9 goals in that game. So the chances were there, and sometimes the goaltenders cooperate, and sometimes they don't. And you know, depending on what side of the fence you look at.
Yeah, but as far as the overall goalie union, I don't think they can be too happy. And Eddie, if you've really kind of followed what's happened in the last 15, 20 years, especially coming out of the lockout in 2004, everything has been geared towards the shooter, right? All the rules changes was to create more offense. And nothing's really there for the goalies.
The same things happen in football. I know there isn't goalies in football, but it's protect the quarterback, right? And then open up all of the offense. When you look at league-wide scoring and, you know, that type of stuff, I mean, just the rules for the defensive player, I mean, it's very, very difficult. So I think there's some similarities there, Kyper, to the heart of your question, right? Is to encourage offense or to at least allow for offense. I mean, I've said this for, I want to say 25 years, but pretty darn close. I would always be really interested. Again, I'm going towards the offensive part. It's maybe not to what you're talking about, Kyper, as far as the goalies, but how do you guys believe that if the instead of having the first and third period in your home zone, what happens if we flip that? What happens if we went to the home zone is only in the second period and the long changes in the first and the third period?
Mm-hmm.
how many more chances would we have? It doesn't mean we're going to score more, but when you look at the numbers, or you look at least for when we do the games on TNT, at least the opportunity to be able to create more chances, because it is harder to make those changes sometimes. Sometimes the quick ups and stuff will catch teams, and you want to generate more opportunities. I would be really interested. I've lobbied for that for a long time, of what would that look like? And look at the offense is there, and you see some of the games, and we've had some unbelievable high scoring games this year, but you wonder how much more, again, catering to the offensive part of the game like they do in football, and, baseball to a certain extent, with the pitch clock now and everything else. But I think in the game of hockey, it'd be, what would you guys think about that? And how do you think it would, maybe impact the game overall in the offensive part of the game?
I mean, I love it. I love it in particular because it's harder to change, and you're tired in the third period. So you're going to have more gas guys, more mistakes, more action.
More too many men on the ice.
Yeah, more too many men for sure. More breakaways. So I really like that idea. And while we're stealing ideas for the NFL, this will be part of an article I'm writing for tomorrow. But how about some motion behind the line of scrimmage? Can we get some people starting to move a little bit, steal some NFL ideas, send some guys at puck drop? What do you think, Kip? You want to get a wide receiver going out wide before the puck drops?
I would have been all for that, right?
I love it, right?
I'd like a 10-foot run at a player.
Yeah, get it cooking a little bit before you drop it. Let's go. Let's get weird.
Eddie, in terms of some of the teams that we've seen in the first half, if we want to consider 34, 35 games, enough for you to understand or believe that a team like the Vancouver Canucks, who ended at Christmas as a top team, can continue that?
Oh, I do. I think Rick Tocchet has done an incredible job. They've really kind of changed the dynamic and makeup of their team. I mean, they still have some injuries too. I mean, a guy like Carson Soucy, who played here in Seattle, was a free agent signing in Vancouver, and, big body. I mean, he went up and picked up Zadorov. Horona came in last year. You got a guy that's, certainly in the top 2 or 3 for Norris Trophy on the back years there, and Quentin Hughes. But they found a way, right? And they seem to be in every game. They're a straight line team. They play hard. They're obviously super, well coached. And I would be very surprised, Kyper and Bourne, if the Vancouver Canucks would fall off. Now, are they going to have a dip? Yeah, a lot of teams do that over 82 games, right? And kind of been a big believer and learned this over the years, is that you're going to have those 82 game schedule, and we're just going to round it off here, but you're going to have 20 games where you're going to be lights out. Every team, doesn't matter what the record is, you're going to have 20 games where you're absolutely lights out, and there's going to be a pretty good chance you're going to find a way to get points in those games. And then you're going to have 20 games in the course of the season, whether it's schedule or injuries or just the fact of playing an 82 game schedule where you feel like your legs are a baggage claim for a lot of those games, and you're gonna be on the wrong end. That's just the way it is. I think what separates everybody else is what the hell happens with those other 40, 42 games, right? And that's what separates the teams that make it and they don't. Can you limit the damage when you go 8 or 10 game segments? And can you make sure that you at least are 500 in those 10 game segments? If you start looking, when you start going 3 points, 4 points in those 10 games, wow, either you've dug yourself a hole or you've put yourself in a really tough spot. So them getting off to a great start, they've put money in the bank, and the goaltending, obviously, I mean, it's been pretty damn good, to be honest with you. And you know what you're going to get in JT Miller, and I'm happy for Brock Besser, and, to be able to bounce back the way that he has. And I think I would be surprised if Vancouver is not in it come the last, 10 days, 2 weeks of the regular season.
So we'll keep it in that division for my last question for you, Edzo, and just ask about the Edmonton Oilers. What are they? Like, is this team that has now won 5 in a row, are they going to be at the top of the division with the Vegas and Vancouvers maybe? Or are they really flawed here? I'm having trouble trying to make sense of what they are.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they look like, they're the team that's going to win the Western Conference,
right,
and get back to where they were a couple of years ago and be within striking distance. And when you have obviously Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, you're going to be in every game, right? So maybe I go back to what I said a little bit earlier, Bourne and Kyper, right? It's like, all right, look at, we know we could get 5 or 6, so don't give up 5, whatever you do, whoever's playing goals. So, and then that's the mindset. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And can they defend enough? I've been a big fan of Evan Bouchard, and I became a bigger fan of him after Duncan Keith spent that time with Bouchard in Edmonton, and then talking to Duncan Keith about Evan Bouchard, and look at, like, every player has blemishes, right? Like, there is no perfect player in a National Hockey League. I mean, there are some guys that are really close. I will admit that. But a guy like Evan Bouchard, look at, is he going to miss some assignments defensively? Absolutely. Is he going to give you, the right reads on plays defensively coming out of the corner or on the off the rush? No, not all the time. But boy, oh boy, I mean, I watch him some nights there, and obviously, we know Paul Coffey is back there working with the D-men. I think the guy, like it, and I think it's there again, just finding that consistency of knowing when to go ahead and the green light is there and to think offense. And other times it's okay to live the fight another day and not be right in the middle of anything offensively, and sometimes just go out there and not be noticed. So the question I have is, can they defend enough, and do they have enough defenders, and having that consistency on the back end? And then obviously the goaltending, like, will it be good enough? But then I go back to what I said earlier, and I've repeated this now 3 times. But look, if they give up 4 or 5, the guys that they have up front, they can get 5 or 6, and they should be in every game, just because those guys are breathing different air than the majority of the National Hockey League. So I still have questions, but I think I would say they're probably dealing from, probably more strength with the way that the game is and what they're able to do than anything else.
One more for me, Edzo, and we'll let you go, I promise. Prior to you going to Seattle, you did a heck of a job covering the Chicago Blackhawks. With the play of Connor Bedard this past season, is there any part of you that would think that the Chicago Blackhawks would take a run at signing some prominent free agents if, in fact, Willie Nylander's still around, or in another year they would entice Pettersson to wait in Vancouver, and they would speed up the process of surrounding this guy with some talent?
Oh, just knowing the people involved there, and obviously Danny Wirtz taking over for his dad, the late Rocky Wirtz, and knowing Kyle Davidson and Norman McIver, kind of the head of the hockey operations department there in Chicago, is that, they've got a plan, and they know exactly where they are and where they're, and where they're trying to get to. So look at it is about talent. The league, teams that win have stars, and they have a star and a half there in Connor Bedard. But you're right. I mean, the need to surround him, with the right type of players. I know I caught a lot of heat before the season started, but I thought the best free agent signing that there was in the entire National Hockey League this year was the signing of Nick Foligno when he went to Chicago. Better than Hall, better than Perry. I thought that was the most cagiest, the smartest free agent signing that there was in the National Hockey League, because a guy like Nick Foligno has no agendas. He plays one way, and whether he plays 8 or 80 minutes a night, he's going to give you everything he has, and he knows what his strengths are. And a guy like Connor Bedard will learn, and I'm sure has learned so much from being around a guy like Nick Foligno, not only on the ice, guys, but also off the ice. And it is about production. It is about having star players, but the ability to have a guy like Nick Foligno there will be long lasting for the Chicago Blackhawks, and then more in particular for a guy like Connor Bedard. And then when they do bring in better players, and obviously draft players, and hope that they're on, breathing that same type of air. Look, that's rare air a guy like Connor Bedard breathes. But when you do bring in the right players, they can't be self-led agenda type of players. Like, that's just the way that it is. And I believe that, why wouldn't they, right? They're going to have space. They know they need to surround a guy like Connor Bedard with a premier center iceman. Whether that's from within and you develop, or you trade for a guy, or, you have assets, or you go ahead and sign somebody. So I would be surprised if they don't take runs at people. But again, I'm not really sure, and I'm not there on a daily basis. But, Nick Foligno's the type of guy that I think makes an impact on Connor Bedard, is a guy like Marty Lapointe did when he was in Chicago on Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves and Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith. Like, those are the type of guys that you need with your franchise and can make a long-lasting impact on those guys. And I thought that was just an unbelievable signing. And I know there were a boatload of teams that wanted Nick Foligno. And yeah, did they overpay him? Yeah, they probably did. But you know what? They had the money, and they needed to, because they knew exactly what they needed to surround a guy like Connor Bedard did. And Nick Foligno's had himself one heck of a season under Luke Richardson.
Edzo, great stuff as always, man. Happy New Year. Thanks for doing this.
Happy New Year.
Thanks,
Love
Edzo.
you guys. See you.
Appreciate
Thanks
it, bud.
for having me. See you.
Great stuff as always, eh?
Yeah,
Edzo?
man. Yeah, really thoughtful stuff.
Is there a higher approval rating guy than Nick Foligno?
Yeah, who doesn't love him?
Everyone loves him. We interviewed him in the summer, and he came on with me and Connor. I was like, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, he's
Such
everyone
a
who
shame
talks to
that it
him
just
loves him.
Didn't work here because of injury.
His
Injury, he would have been perfect.
Just
In theory.
You're
Try
right.
him again.
He had a bad back.
Try him again.
The problem is he signed for $4
Yeah, he makes
million.
too much money. Too much money.
Even at retaining, it's
How
2.
many years did he get?
Just 1 year,
Just
4
one.
mil.
Yep.
That
Him
would
and
be.
Perry were
that's-
take a big paycheck to go.
Could you see?
mentor.
Could you see them moving him at the trade deadline?
I think that was probably part of the original thing. Was like, by the time the deadline is, I think it's March 3rd. He's only owed X, so you retain half. You
it all
gain an
depends
asset
on where you think
for
he
the retaining.
fits, right? It's got to be a fit guy.
Well, he's having a pretty good year, to Edzo's point.
How many minutes is he playing?
That's a great point.
Right, and then on a contending team, can he get the same minutes? Does he expect to get the same minutes?
All right.
He plays a lot.
Nick Foligno has 8 goals, 9 assists, 17 points. He plays a lot. He played a
plays
total
a
of
lot.
18 minutes this year per game. 17:52.
Would he fit? Where would he fit? On a
Last 3
contending
games, he's
team?
played 21, 46, 22.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
a lot.
Yeah. Could he play third line center on
Clearly
your playoff
his-
team?
His back feels good.
Back's doing better.
Yep, back is feeling better.
Yeah.
We'll do game time on the other side of the break. Set a break here.
Okay.
Hold on. Quick thought of Edzo's point about
Yes.
goaltending save percentages going down.
Yeah.
I thought tandems was a really smart point. That, the best goalies used to play all the time, and they don't anymore. Now you willingly hand the ball
Yeah.
to a guy you don't think is
Yeah.
as good a lot.
But they didn't get there on their own. They got there because they screwed up their salary cap, and that's
Who?
the teams in general.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, I think it's evolved that way because they felt that that's where you can kind of,
Save money.
you can skim off of and least affect your team.
Yeah. No, hey, listen, everyone's looking for an angle.
At the end of the day, if you have the puck in the offensive zone, then it doesn't matter who you have back there. And that's the philosophy: is less is more. And
That's the
just
philosophy that's
make-
worked for no one so far.
Make the saves
in
you're
the playoffs.
supposed to make.
Yeah.
The days of the standing on your head and being the first star most nights is over.
Sergei Bobrovsky, 2 bad years, and then he's the best guy on earth.
He's hanging on.
Yeah.
He's hanging on.
The contract is not looking terrible.
It's looking-
it's looking less terrible.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, the odds are still against him
For sure.
this deep into that contract.
Yeah.
But we shall see. Okay. As Sammy mentioned, game break after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. Plenty more to get into. NHL news and notes, including a major announcement out of Ottawa, Steve Stais. But before that,
He hired himself.
game notes. Or,
Oh, yeah,
I'm sorry,
game time.
game time.
Game time. Let it rip. Where's my sheet? It's been a while since I should have this memorized.
On
It's
Sunday.
been a long lineup today. Long lineup.
Yeah, lots of
too many
info.
pages. All right. It's game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. The first thing I wanted to do was to check in on the future market to see the
The Dow Jones?
favorites. No.
Sammy's got money in the Dow Jones. Didn't mean to laugh at that, by the way.
No, it's fair.
Listen.
100% able to laugh.
I bet you got about $1.40 worth of change in your pocket.
I got nothing in my pocket. I got a Wonder Bar wrapper in my pocket.
There you go.
No, for the future, for the trophies. So like for the Calder, Bedard's still a massive favorite at minus 450. The closest to him is Brock Faber at plus 1200. Luke Hughes plus 1600. Fantilli is 20 to 1. Who he
I like that Fantilli.
I do too. Actually, that's one thing we didn't get to talk about. You guys talked about it on air, but I just loved the whole Benoit situation. Where he got in his grill and then went and fought the toughest guy in the team right away.
Like, don't talk to him.
He's like, okay, we'll fight.
He's like, I guess.
And he tried to give him the BX, the Superman punch to start. Really loved that Benoit moment there. So yeah, the 20 to 1 for him.
He wasn't trying to check on his phone, was he, or anything?
What's that?
Oh boy,
is this a Columbus joke?
So there's a dead heat in the Hart Trophy race between Connor McDavid at plus 325 and Nikita Kucherov, who's having an unbelievable season.
Yeah, imagine picking Kucherov in that situation. You'd have to be out of your tree.
Okay,
McKinnon creeping up there at plus 425. You see that clip of him trucking the guy on,
and then
standing over him. Like,
McKinnon is owed a lifetime achievement Hart. By the way,
when do we get to decide whether or not Tampa Bay is a good team or not?
They're not. They just got good players. So they have good top players.
When do we? Let me rephrase that.
I love that answer.
Let me rephrase that. When do we decide whether or not Tampa Bay is a dangerous team or not?
Well, to me, they're in the same class as two Canadian teams, maybe three if you want to put Vancouver, but Toronto and Edmonton, where they also have very good players and also have significant question marks in other places where it's like, if they got good goaltending for a month, they could kill you.
Isn't in net.
They have Vasilevsky, right? I've heard of him. Yeah, that does separate them a little bit, doesn't it?
You mean Vasilevsky, the number one reason the Leafs got past the first round last year?
Yeah, he wasn't great in that series.
Where's the belief that this guy is still the man?
He's still the man.
Is he?
It's Andre Vasilevsky.
Hasn't played that great. Or at least the consistency has not been there like in the past.
I get it.
Jack Adams, Rick Tocchet, prohibitive favorite, 2 to 1 now. The Norris is between Hughes and Makar as usual. Evan Bouchard is the third favorite, plus 1,400, which is crazy. And Matthews is a minus 110 for the Rocket. So there you go. There's the future market. Demko's a favorite with Hellebuck right behind him.
Matthews minus or plus 110?
Minus 110.
Who's a bigger surprise, Vancouver or Winnipeg?
Vancouver. For sure.
Really?
Winnipeg to me has always been.
No. Winnipeg to me is a bigger surprise because this team was supposed to implode.
It's a good question. Let me wrap up game time and then we'll get to it after that. The last one I had was the 2014 parlay, which I like to call the Sid and Ovi both to score a goal tonight, is plus 525. And a goal for Trevor Moore against the Leafs.
Sid at
plus
now?
190.
Yeah.
7?
Pardon?
He's at 7 goals now?
No, he's got.
Ovi?
Yeah, I think he's at 7 or 8. So that was
would
game
he finish
time.
dead last? Good tournament though.
Is he going to get to 30?
No. He's not going to get. He's not going to get to Bourne's
25?
number. What was your number at the start of the day? 26
Come
and a half.
on. There's got to be a stretch here where Ovi kind of gets it going a little bit.
And it starts tonight on Game Time. And that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 18 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Winnipeg Jets 7-1-2 in their last 10.
So why are you so fast to dismiss that Vancouver's just a bigger story or bigger surprise?
Well, I think Vancouver was pretty bad last year, right?
Yeah, this core
they were
stunk.
Supposed to trade JT Miller at one point.
Besser couldn't
Horvat
play.
was traded. It was all like they were unraveling.
Everybody
And
was
then they
supposed to
rabbled.
leave Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Scheifele was supposed to be gone. Connor Hellebuck had permission to go talk to New Jersey.
Yeah. But they didn't want to pay him in New Jersey. What are you doing?
Where would they be right now?
What are you doing?
New Jersey would be by far the best team in the league.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
The NHL winning percentage. Leagues sorted by winning percentages. Rangers, Boston, Winnipeg. 1, 2, 3. Winnipeg, third overall.
But to me, they made the playoffs last year. There's been I wouldn't go as far as to say tradition. That's a little strong, but there's been a pedigree of winning there.
Mm-hmm.
They've always been like a plucky team, a decent team. They've always been in the fight. To me, Vancouver was bad.
But, Winnipeg had to make the P.L. Dubois deal,
which
was
like
like
they
you
knocked
lose
it.
Wheeler.
Chevy killed it. Knocked it out of the park.
You lose Wheeler and Dubois. It's tough to say we're going to be a lot better. And Velarde, Iafallo, Kupari hasn't played much, but they've been very good.
When do we give Rick Bowness even more credit for calling that room out like he did, and the recovery time to get them back on board and being a solid hockey club? Like it's phenomenal.
Yeah, you lose Wheeler. I mean, obviously Dubois. You lost guys who weren't pulling in the same direction as everyone else.
I think they're.
Laine once upon a time was there.
I think you could maybe draw a line between the two guys that left and the stuff that Bowness said.
Sure.
You know, like I think Wheeler had that conversation with Christine Simpson about how he was perceived. I think P.L. Dubois has gone
He didn't like it. He felt like they blamed him. For
but I mean, when you're saying that stuff, probably means there was a little truth to that.
Yeah.
A little bit too much power, I think, for Wheeler. That's all. And maybe he'll admit it somewhere down the road that, there's a few situations they could have handled differently without getting into real specifics.
Sure.
But
either way, both great stories. Jets
they're
are
phenomenal stories.
plus 30 goal differential. Canucks plus 43. Humming.
Did you want to mention the Cole Perfetti thing with Hartman here?
Love this. So, who hit Kaprizov?
Brendan Dillon gave Kaprizov a cross check in the hip.
Right.
Hurt him.
That being Minnesota's best player.
And he's out, I think, a week, maybe two. And Ryan Hartman told a mic'd up Cole Perfetti that he was going to high stick. We have the clip of Perfetti talking.
Okay.
If you, Dutchy, if you want to get that clip ready, it's a really funny clip. If you want to play it for us here now.
To follow on that, Cole, did he make it pretty clear that he was doing that as retribution for what had happened the day before?
Yeah, he did. He made it pretty obvious, you know. He did it he said it in kind of a respectful way. Like, he said, no disrespect, nothing against you, just, had to happen. Something had to happen against, what happened to Kaprizov there. He's obviously going to be out for a little bit, and I don't think Dilly was trying to hurt him. I think he's just playing heavy, and that's just, that play happens. Like, he wasn't, I don't think, trying to be a bad guy. I think he was just, that's what he thought he needed to do to get back at us.
You were mic'd up too, right?
I was, yes. So we caught it all.
I was going to say,
the whole combo.
If this went to a court, you got the smoking
Yeah, he
gun.
wouldn't be doing. They wouldn't have much. They, I was mic'd up, so I don't know if he realized that or not. They're supposed to get notified, but to come out and blatantly say it to the mic, it worked out in our favor.
He actually said to him, like, I'm going to high stick you in the face.
Did you see the video of it?
No, I haven't.
Oh my God, he just bashes him straight in the mouth.
And he got fined.
I got to tell you, love it.
Hartman's a dirty guy,
Really?
and I love it.
You know who else loves it?
Who was that?
The league.
Why is that?
Well, they only fined him.
Yeah, you're right. But they can't use the audio.
Yeah.
So in order to get players to agree to be mic'd up, the agreement is that nothing you do or say can be used against you in a court of law.
Can I just remind you, this is the NHL. They can do and say whatever the hell they want.
Yes, you're right. They could have been like,
Right?
yeah, we didn't use
Can't
the audio.
Use the audio.
Yeah.
No, they used
but
the
we did.
audio.
It's like in a
And then
court
they
case where
loved
they're
it.
like, strike that from the record. It's like, but the jury heard it. Yeah.
They loved it.
Yeah.
Good.
But you
Good.
know,
Maybe
couple
more
thoughts.
guys will have second thoughts about. Listen, they love players policing themselves still.
Right.
They do. And then there's a line,
and
when
Ryan
you
Hartman's
cross
a
it,
player.
they step in.
Yeah.
But until then, this stuff has been going on forever.
So I am it's a curious choice to choose Cole Perfetti to me. Is it not?
Well, he's one of their. I guess he's like a good young player.
It's not Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor or Velarde or we got the video here. Oh,
yeah, he just hit him in the mouth.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah, he sure did.
Hit him in the mouth.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a good choice.
By Hartman.
Yeah, it's like,
I know people are going to hate us for that. I
You know.
totally agree.
yeah, it's perfect. It's like,
Don't hit our best player and let everyone on your bench know
Yeah.
why that happened.
go after a young guy, vulnerable, because then it forces their team to
loving
go.
show.
Should not be
You
supporting
can't
this.
go after, like, our young chickadees here,
Yeah.
right? We got to do something. There's more of a reaction than a veteran, I think.
It is.
Or is equal.
But I think you have to clarify, if you're Hartman, to Perfetti, here's why this has happened. Otherwise, it just looks like a really egregious act.
The part
Go tell your friends.
The part I don't like is
this.
how polite he was.
Hartman?
Yeah, very respectful.
Oh, I like it.
No, I don't want respect
it's
either.
transactional. It's transactional.
I don't want respect.
Just I'm going to take 2 of your teeth.
Yes.
What do you say? What do you think? Excuse me, sir. I'm going to cross-check you in the mouth.
Yeah, just so you know.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're done because of him.
No, I like the.
And then you turn around and
niceties.
then you go back. Like there was a couple occasions where I had to go to Peter Bondra in Washington, me and Alan May, and go, hey, listen, you take it easy there a little bit.
Yeah,
okay?
I'm tired of
I'm
fighting
tired.
on
I
your
got
behalf.
a bad shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, don't drag me into another one. Let's get off this road trip.
It would be fun to have a couple of guys fighting for you. I'd be running my mouth too.
Yeah.
What'd you have to say, Kip? Kip.
Oh, God. All right. Steve Staios has appointed himself
Good hire.
general manager full-time.
Is it not a little funny? Like just a little bit funny that they hired Jacques Martin to be their coaching consultant, then he hired Jacques Martin, and then Steve Staios, who's conducting the GM search, found Steve Staios. It's a little funny.
It is funny.
I mean, they're both good, credible hires, and in no way am I saying they're not qualified or whatever. They're great hires, but it's a little funny to be like, you know, who would be great at that job? Me.
I don't understand why he wants it.
What do you
You're
mean?
the
What is that? He's
president.
32 GMs. Yeah, now he has a shield for this president job. If he needs to get fired, he can fire himself from that one.
No, I think he's at a point where he can get himself fired,
Now it's a package deal, you think?
right? Like if you stink as a GM, why do I want you president of hockey ops?
Yeah, he might not have thought this through. might have lumped himself in.
I think that's the ultimate job, the president of hockey ops.
that's
And now
new.
you brought in Dave Poulin, who's been around the block, and you can sit up top and even mentor a general manager.
But this
Right?
is new, Kip, where you talk about the president as like the job. It wasn't until very recently where the GM was kind of the guy who ran the show, and the president was like the business guy who took care of ticket sales and all that stuff. Now it's like, you have Gorton in Montreal and Rutherford in Vancouver, and these guys,
in Vegas,
right, who kind of feel like the GM is, I don't want to say a puppet, but at least the president has say in the hockey side a lot more than I used to feel like they did.
Brendan Shanahan in Toronto.
I'm not saying, just saying.
They could also push in Ryan Bonus if they need to. You got to think that they are somewhat grooming him to slide in there eventually, maybe.
I don't know. Should you not just give him the job then if you think he's going to
they've
eventually do
appointed
it?
him the team's associate general manager.
I've always wondered what was
So-
higher, associate or assistant. Guess that's the answer. huh?
Associate sounds way better on a business card.
Does it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
So, I mean, Ottawa's starting to hum a little bit. It would be nice
Yeah,
to
they won one in a row.
Too late?
Don't let
Way
him get
too
hot.
late for you guys? Can they pull Edmonton Oiler and win 5 in a row again?
No. Although Pinto's coming back too. Pinto's coming back. They could. I just feel like this team at 14 and 18 is so much more to give. I'd like to at least see the real Ottawa. I am curious what happens come the deadline. Who goes? Like, are they gonna trade Tarasenko? They're not going to make the playoffs this year, so
You sure?
yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
They're in
Just asking.
300th in the Atlantic.
All right. How do we do for our first show back in 10 days?
I mean, we left a lot on the table. We have like 8 topics we didn't get to. So I don't know how the show was, but we got more to give.
All right. Our thanks to Eddie Olczyk, hockey analyst with TNT. We are back again tomorrow. How many games tonight?
I can
13.
tell you, 13 matches.
Pick one you like, and we're back tomorrow.
Pick the Leafs game. We're on it.
Yes. Enjoy your night, everybody. Back tomorrow again with Real Kyper and Bourne.